How much does it cost to develop raw land? We're going to get into that in this video. There's so much going on here. Okay, this is a great area for new people to get started. And in this video, I can show you how, with very little money, to go big time on this. This is exactly how I got started over 25 years ago. Okay, I didn't understand construction. I didn't understand that stuff, so I went with this. We're also gonna show you how you can take even that little money and go even bigger by teaming up with other people. And I'll show you exactly who those people are in this video. But before we do that, if you have any questions, just type them in the comments in there. I answer all the questions. Like, subscribe, bell, thumbs up, all of that good stuff. And then we'll get right into that. Okay, developing a raw piece of land can vary dramatically depending on location. And this is so important to understand. Okay, if I've got a raw piece of land, that means unimproved land, there's a lot of expenses into getting that developed. So if I get no power, no water, anything, it all depends on where all that is. So I could have an undeveloped piece of property in a neighborhood, but I still have to get power and what have you to it. So when you're looking at a piece of property, even though it's in a city, you want to find out some factors. Where is the power? Okay, how far away from the property is the power? Because the power company, even though they're charging for power, they're not going to drop the power into the back of it because you want to build. They'll do it, but they're going to charge you, and that could be $15,000, $20,000. Same thing with water, but let's go back to the power. So you've probably seen this a number of times before, but just never thought about it. If you've ever looked at a telephone pole, and if you're a little boy like me and my brothers, we used to try to climb them all the time. You know how they have the little handles way up there? Well, we figured out a way to get there. They've got those little aluminum strips. They're little aluminum with numbers on them. They're usually vertical. They just tamp them right in there. That is a pole number. If you get that pole number and you call the power company, they'll tell you exactly where the power is in relation to that property and give you an approximation of how much it's going to cost to get the power dropped into the property. Can't build without power, okay? Now, unless you've got some kind of super generator, which I've had to do waiting for the power company to come put it in there. So that's an important factor to get it ready. But it's also an important factor doing your research when you're looking at a piece of property. Because I'm looking at this piece of property, oh man, this is great. It's got all this stuff around it. It's like, whoa, wait a second. If it costs you $80,000 to get the property set up just to start building, it might squash the deal, or it might not, but you need to know these things, okay? Water, let's talk about water. Where is the water in this property, okay? Again, I'm on a street. Of course there's water on here. There might be water on there. You don't know that. There could be some wells being dug on the other properties. I don't know the circumstances, but you want to find out where is the water. Okay, so you might have to pay to get the water to the front of the property, and that's going to cost you per linear foot, and that can drive the price up. So let's say I've got water right in front, power in back. It's still going to cost you money to start this thing and get it going. And again, I'm not trying to discourage you. I just see this. I get property all the time from people who go, I want to build my dream home here. And then they forget or don't know that all these factors come in there, and they start going, wait a second, this is getting a lot more expensive than I thought. I come in behind and go, I'll buy it, okay? So typically on a property, it depends on where you're at in the country, just to get the water meter and the power going onto the property, it's probably gonna cost you $20,000 to $30,000 just to go there. So as you can see, knowing where all these factors are is very important. Is it on the property? This is why I say in other videos, is it fully improved? Fully improved means you wouldn't have to do any of that stuff, okay? And the last factor in that is sewer. What kind of sewer is it? Are we going to be able to go public? Or are we going to have to go septic on this property? Okay, there's a bunch of properties I'm doing right now. City doesn't have sewer, everything's septic. Okay, I know that, and I can build it into the price. And these things in and of itself aren't a deterrent or aren't a positive. These are just facts you need to understand on developing the piece of property to get it ready for build. I could be just developing the property to give to a developer. Then he can build on the property. But I think you're going to find that once you start getting into this world, as long as you can contain those costs, the project looks really good and very profitable if you've got the right builders behind you. So there's a key factor here. So I'm doing some projects right now at the time of this video. Okay, the one thing I'm looking for is developed properties. Okay, so in other words, I've got properties in there that I can purchase, but I'm going to have to bring the water, I'm going to have to bring the power, I'm going to have to bring the sewage in there, and I factor those in. So it also helps in negotiating on the property. So if I'm going in there and I find out that they have none of that stuff ready, it's like, wait a second. Okay, this thing's not, that property down the street that they want $50,000 for is already developed. There's a water meter and everything. That's worth it to me. Yours doesn't have that. I know what it's going to cost me to put that in. Your price needs to be X, Y, or Z. Or I've had this situation before where somebody said, hey, I've got a property that is ready to build. And I go in there and look at everything. And it's like, no, it's not. Okay, you might have pulled the permits. You might have done this, but you haven't actually run the power or the water or the sewage, set up the septic tank or any of those things in there. So again, you need to know these things. And it's not difficult. But once you understand what's available there, the profits go way up. I'll give you another example. If I'm developing a piece of property and I say put $50,000 for the property, another $30,000 to develop it, and I can build on there for $250,000, but everything in that area is selling for $500,000-$600,000, you've got yourself a winner. So if you can go find these properties around there where people have developed, didn't understand what they were doing and went, this is getting too expensive. So they put that, they don't understand the value of that. Okay, so you're, hey, I'll buy it off you and I'll build the home. You guys are out of here. Because again, this property is just eating at their cash flow. It's not producing any income. It was a dream they had that might be a little sore wound because it didn't materialize. And they just want out of the property. So there's a good way to make that happen, okay? Those are some of the costs you're gonna look at developing the property. On top of that, you want to find a good builder, okay? If you're gonna build on the property, you wanna find a good builder that's got good plans out there that are gonna make it happen. Now listen, building a piece of property, there's no mystery meat here, just like rehabbing a property. These numbers are super easy today in today's technology with all the software out there to get exact numbers on it. Okay, so when I'm building on this raw piece of land and I want to build this house or whatever the heck I'm doing there on that, everything is itemized in there. I know what kind of toilets, the model number, all of these things I have right then and there. Now, if I'm doing this project and I know I'm going to get improved, I'm going to make it happen, I might even put a storage unit onto the property, one of those containers. I'll rent one of those containers and start buying items for the property way in advance. I do not want to be in the middle of a build waiting for windows, waiting for doors, waiting for the solar panels. I'll usually start buying those literally within the first couple of weeks so that those are sitting inside, securely locked inside my storage. And as the contractor needs those, I'm not waiting on that, okay? Or they're not waiting on that. So one of the biggest problems you have with building is builders waiting for material. And if the materials aren't there, okay, they can't build. Okay, and if they can't build, subs get upset, all of these things start happening, and the project starts getting behind. Okay, you don't want to do that. So again, with raw land, your most important factor is the planning. You must plan this thing out. So if I'm building on this piece of property, I want to make sure that I know how much it's going to cost me for the meters, water, electricity, all that stuff. What are my hard costs going to be on this property? And is there an exit strategy? Let's talk about exit strategies. So exit strategies. There's several things I love about raw land because they give you so many options. So I could develop the property and put the water meter, the sewer, and the power on it. Stop and look around and go, what's the market doing? While I'm looking around wondering what the market's doing, I could take my plans to build and submit them to the county and go through that approval process. Let's say that takes 4 or 5 months. Okay, now I've got plans that are good to go. I've got a developed property. What happens to the value of that property? It goes straight through the ceiling, sometimes even doubles. So now if I don't want to build, I can just sit down knowing that I've got a piece of property that's worth twice what I paid for it. Okay, so the economy kind of softens or whatever, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I don't want to build. But I still have this property and I have approved plans. Now you're gonna have to find out from the county that you're working with, how long are those plans good for? 2 years, 2.5 years is very typical. So now I've got one of the only properties in town that have ready to build, plans approved, and they can start tomorrow. You can kind of see the value in that. Okay, but it also is a benefit for me. I've got a value on a property that's worth double what it is. I can build on there. As soon as the economy turns around, I'm shoveled to dirt immediately. So I'm ahead of everybody else on that. But if anybody else comes into that area and wants to build tomorrow, the only property that is available to do that would be my property. There's all the value adds that you have on. And another thing you're looking at with these lots is, what is the value add? I'm kind of going backwards on this, but when I'm picking these lots out, it's not just value added, there's a golf course and all that stuff, is where's all these utilities and stuff like that? Because if there's something down the street and it's gonna cost me $50,000 to get that thing ready to build, it's not the same value as the one down the street that doesn't cost me anything. Okay, so there's all of these factors. And another thing on the build, stay within your budget, okay? What I love, I've got a mentor out there that you say, don't pimp your ride. In other words, you don't need spinning hubcaps and dingle balls from that. It doesn't work. You get tight on that budget and you stick with it, and you're gonna make a ton of money on this. In fact, I've got some incredible training on this, okay, free to you if you'd like. It's extensive. It goes through all of these cost analysis, shows you everything you need to do. Just go to higginsmethod.com down below. And I'll also send you out a free book called America's Secret Investment Strategy. This is Saen Higgins saying good luck and God bless.